relate exclusively to the juvenile court system. And beyond that, we would not be commenting on any other matters that may or may not be the subject of inquiry.
Could you describe their ownership interest in these, or their financial interest in these facilities? And also, could you expand a little bit on, you said that some juveniles were sentenced to these facilities even though the court recommended, or the prosecutor recommended they not be.
That is correct. In terms of the financial interest, those financial interests, I believe, are detailed in the criminal information, which reflects a series of payments totaling in excess of $2.6 million. Payments made by two individuals and payments made on behalf of this business, which was doing business with Luzerne County. Those payments are described in some detail in the information. For example, you will note in count 1 of the information, which describes the scheme to defraud, wire transfer payments of well in excess of $1 million that occurred on various dates. Are allegedly mischaracterized, and payments that went to businesses that the judges control. As to your question regarding the treatment of juveniles, the information alleges that the judges ordered juveniles into these detention facilities in which they had a financial interest, and on occasion that those orders were done despite the recommendation of juvenile probation officers that the child not be detained, not be imprisoned.
Are those children going to be released? Are they still in custody, any of them? Is there going to be any recourse for them?
But in terms of questions of the recourse those children may have in the juvenile justice system, that really is a matter best left for the Court of Common Pleas in Luzerne County and for the successor judges who will address juvenile matters in that court. If I may, please.
What was the time frame as far as the plea agreement goes? Was it all today, Friday, last week? How long had this plea agreement been in the works?
The plea agreement, which was filed today, and which will be available.
My recollection that lease agreement was approved by the county commissioners. Have you looked into the culpability, perhaps, of the county commissioners, or did the judges influence the commissioners in passing that lease?
This matter and these charges relate exclusively and solely to the judges. Yes, sir.
The $2.6 million, yes. Where did it originate and where did it go? Where did it wind up?
As recited in the information, the $2.6 million came from two unnamed individuals. And the information recites a number of means by which that was paid, including wire transfers and checks. Those monies went to the benefit of the judges, and as recited in the information, in a number of instances, the monies were paid to.
A follow-up to the time served with the 87 months. How does that compare with the minimum and/or mandatory sentence, if at all?
There is no mandatory sentence for the offenses to which these defendants have pled guilty. The sentence of 87 months that we have stipulated to, we believe, fairly reflects the gravity of this offense and fairly represents the gravity of this offense when that offense is judged under the federal sentencing guidelines. Yes, sir.
Were there any other counties? You said there were multiple facilities other than these two. Can you tell us where those facilities were located?
The information recites that some facilities were located in western Pennsylvania.
Okay, were they all owned by the same operating company?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes, sir.
Will the defendants be entitled to keep their pensions, and if so, could you tell us how much that is?
That's an excellent question. The question of the entitlement of the and all of your questions have been excellent. let me not create some sort of an issue here among us all. The question of whether a person, a public servant in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, who engaged the citizens of Pennsylvania of the right to honest services, the question of whether that person then is entitled to a pension is a matter of state law, and a matter of state law that will be determined by state pension officials. So at the risk of not being able to fully answer your question, I would have to direct you to those officials so that they could provide you and other members of the media with information regarding the extent to which persons charged with offenses such as this who have agreed to plead guilty to those offenses are entitled to their pension. I will note the plea agreement requires the judges to make restitution for any financial harms that can be ascertained from these crimes. Restitution in an amount that will be determined by the court in future proceedings. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Carlson, you mentioned in the information that these unnamed participants paid this money to the judges. I think the public may have a difficulty understanding why those unnamed participants are also not being charged. Can you comment on that as to why they are not being charged as well at this point?
I'm not going to comment on what is the nature, scope, and direction of an ongoing investigation at this point in time, other than to note that when we have things to comment on, we will most certainly do so. Yes, sir.
You get angry at this kind of behavior? The judges.
I think for everyone who serves in our justice system, everyone who serves in our courts, everyone who serves the public, that this is a sad event when individuals took us, violate the law. So I approach this more in sadness than in anger. But we who've taken an oath up here to enforce the law have an obligation to follow the evidence where it goes, without fear or favor, without passion or prejudice. We have an obligation to do justice, and that's what we're doing today. Are there any other questions? I want to thank you then for your time. I appreciate your attention.
Okay, we're back. As you can see, Judge Annie Lokuta was there. I think she was there because whether she felt vindicated or whatever, but maybe, just maybe, what she's been saying is true, that she's now part of the good old boys club. We also have another video up for you in its entirety where we caught up with Judge Annie Lokuta giving an interview. Check that out in its entirety. That kind of says a lot on what's going to happen with her. So in the meantime, this is Joe Valenti signing off for another edition of Kitchen Table Politics. Hopefully we'll get you updated. If you hear anything on this whole thing, email it to me over, blog on it, whatever. We want to hear about it. Thanks and have a great week.
Hello, high water. I'm gonna get through this if it's the last thing I know.